What are you still salty about? In a 5th grade science test the question was, are there any stars in the solar system? I answered, yes. Teacher marked it wrong. I went up afterwards and said, what about the sun? He said, he meant that all the other stars are not in our solar system and kept it marked wrong. Although I am harboring this for 50 years now, he was all around one of the best teachers I ever had and just passed away a week or so ago. But damn, that should have been marked right. Are there any beans in this jar? Yes, there appear to be 3. Wrong, I meant all the beans that are outside of the jar. You see, if you exclude all the beans inside the jar, there are no beans in the jar. You sure are stupid. Yeah, that could have been a trick question, definitely should have been marked right. When I was in high school someone tagged up the school. They announced there would be a reward for anyone who rats anyone out. I get called in the office and find out I'm suspended for vandalization. I didn't do it and had no idea who. 4 days later I'm allowed to come back to school because they found who actually did it. I just got an apology. Public humiliation, private apology. In 4th grade English class, EU, I've used the word gross in a random sentence we had to write. The teacher argued that it isn't a real word. I said that it is, that I saw it a few times in video games and movies, and she said that they aren't a reliable source. I said to her that I'm gonna show it in the dictionary, but she instead grabbed me by the arm and took me out of the classroom and locked the door. To this day I am still fuming about this. And then she had the nerve to be all chummy when I met her once in a supermarket. Gross. Edit, in both cases it was meant like disgusting, and I know there are even more meanings behind the word. I wonder if she knows by now. You could have also said you met the grossly overweight teacher in the grocer's buying a gross of eggs. Sort of similar story. In 8th grade or so, we had to write a paper for our English class. I'm Norwegian by the way. I had just picked up words like strain, divine and such from translating song lyrics to Norwegian to understand what they meant, and threw them all into the mix. I also somehow managed to use the word whom correctly, even though I to this day have no idea when you should use it correctly. A few days later we all got our tests back, and I failed as the teacher accused me of cheating, and sent me straight to the principal. I told them that I wanted to understand lyrics, and even showed them my book where I wrote down all the words I didn't understand, and their Norwegian translation. However, they said I probably figured out that they were onto me and faked the whole book and story to cover my ass. Still bothers me to this day, even though it didn't matter at all in the grand scheme of things. When I was in high school, I was occasionally allowed to drive my family's 3rd car. It had a slow leak in one of the tires, so we were all supposed to check the pressure and put air in it if we needed to. I picked up a friend to go to a movie, and when we came out one tire was completely flat. It wasn't the one with the leak, so I put the spare on and drove home. I got absolute hell from my parents about it. How irresponsible I was to not check it. I'd have to pay for the repair, why didn't I call roadside assistance, etc. Took it to get fixed, repeat the whole lecture as we're dropping it off, and the tech who did it called my mom and told her he'd found a nail in the tire and there was no way I could have seen it coming. She refused to apologize and I still had to pay for it. That's not even bad parenting, that's just bad personing. On the 4th grade math test we had to make a shape that had only 4 sides, 1 set of parallel lines, and only 1 right angle. There were probably more requirements but I can't remember. I remember almost crying at my desk and spending 20 minutes on that one question while constantly telling my teacher that it wasn't possible but according to her it was. And the next day we went over the answer key, and the answer had 2 right angles. Yo, I had something like this happen to me too. We had a paper sheet with tons of math questions. One of them was impossible and the whole class knew it. We went up to our teacher and she said no questions. Next day we were reviewing it and she said it was impossible but still marked us all wrong. This reminds me of when I was taking DC circuit analysis. Similar situation. We were told to analyze the circuit and measure the voltage across a given resistor, but after literally days of my lab partner and I trying to figure it out over and over, we couldn't arrive to a solution. We isolated an area on the circuit that, if a resistor were added there, would balance the equation and allow us to solve it. Basically, we suspected the given circuit was not able to be solved using the methods we were supposed to, and we thought it was the professor's mistake. We met with the professor and he, very condescendingly, told us to study more, that we didn't understand the concept, etc. And wouldn't even look at the sheet. It really didn't help my confidence level, as I was already having a rough time that year and couldn't focus on studying as much as I'd like to have. I thought I was dumb, basically. The day before it was due, we came back during office hours and he finally looked over the sheet, condescendingly started going through the steps we had gone through a few dozen times out loud, arrived to the same dead end we had. And then, oh wait a minute, there's a missing resistor here. Right where we said we thought there should be one. Turned out he had hand-drawn it from a reference sheet and forgot to add it there. It was such a relief, and I wasn't even mad at the time, because we finally had validation. And he was very apologetic. But the mental turmoil that caused me couldn't be undone. When I was a freshman in college, my mom gave my car to my jailbird brother. Every time he got out, she'd scrape a bunch of stuff together for his fresh start, without ever running it by me. He showed up to my school, changed the battery for me, and then drove away in it. He didn't tell me his intentions beforehand, so it wasn't until then that I caught on. As he drove off, I called my mom and she just said, "I'll help you with a new one." He moved out of state with that car, wrecked it within weeks, and has since gone back to jail multiple times. Neither of them have given me a sincere apology to this day. That's why I tell young people, if the title to their car isn't in their name, then it isn't their car. Your parent can't give away your car. Came second in food tech competition. Made a lovely main course, then longed to chat biscuits with lemon posset for dessert. I made this dessert because the judges prior to this day told us don't make a cake for dessert. Guess what won first place? A fucking cake. Reminds me of the time my high school chamber orchestra participated in a music competition. We worked our tails off learning Shostakovich's Quartet No. 8, which, if you don't know it, is crazy hard to play, not least because it includes a certain musical dissonance that doesn't come naturally to people, and we seriously nailed it. We show up to the competition only to discover that nearly everybody else had chosen easier, more melodic pieces, with a solid third of them all playing Tchaikovsky's Serenade for Strings. Not only did we not win any of the top spots, several of which went to people playing that damn Tchaikovsky, but our judges were writing notes about how the music sounded evil. Seriously, who marks down a chamber orchestra because you think the composer wrote evil music? Imbeciles. 3 months ago I went on maternity leave. The woman hired to cover for me was being paid $3 more than I am currently paid. She was going to be kept on as a full-time accounting assistant after I returned, but she couldn't keep up with my daily tasks and completely fucked up several databases that I had to correct when I returned to work the following month. When I asked for a raise, they offered me 0.50 after telling me how crucial I am to the structure of the company. Needless to say, I'm looking for a new job. Let that be a lesson. Never expect a respectable raise from the company you are currently in. If you want more money, think you deserve more money, etc., go somewhere else. 20 years ago I had 3 friends show up at my house, and when they left, my wallet with $80 in it was missing. One of the guys felt bad and gave me $20 back. 3 years after that we are in the BK drive-thru and he whipped out my wallet. Still salty. His FB friend request has just been sitting there for like 2 years. Like 12 years ago, a friend of mine brought his friend to my house. My phone went missing at some point. He was the only person there that I had not known for half my life. He tried to blame it on my siblings' friends, but didn't realize that he was the only one there who didn't consider our house a second home. I ended up getting someone I knew to tell him she lost her phone and she got him to offer her my exact phone, but at some point he must have realized what was going on and he ghosted her before she could buy it back for me. Like 6 years later he tried to come back for a party and I told him to get lost. Still mad. Did you confront him at the drive-thru? Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.